All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the SEMA Collision Repair and Refinish stage, which is brought to you by iCar and SCRS. My name is Andrew Badenhorst. I am the secretary for SCRS, and I also run a body shop called Pacific Collision Center in Glendale, California. I want to go ahead and introduce all my panelists that are joining me today.
My name is Justin Lewis. I'm an SCRS board member, and I run Accurate Auto Body in Redmond, Washington.
And I am Amber Alley, and I am the media past chair of SCRS, and I run a collision shop in Northern California called Bersati's Body and Fender.
I'm Ron Reichen. I'm past chairman of SCRS, and we have collision centers in Oregon.
All right, thank you, everybody. So the topic today is probably one of the most significant things that is affecting virtually everybody's shop that I talk to across the country, and that there's not enough work. I know myself, I am dealing with a little bit of a slowdown. So today we want to kind of start to review what are some effective strategies and things that shops can do to help, make sure that technicians aren't standing around pushing a broom and getting antsy for work. So I want to talk a little bit about demographics. And I've specifically chosen some topics today that are a little bit off the beaten path that aren't your typical things to cover. So for all of you as operators, how do you study what your market looks like? How do you gain the information about the customers that exist in the area where your shop is?
Well, we're a certified focused facility, so we see that the majority of our work comes from our sponsoring certified dealerships. So we are spending a lot of time one-on-one. We call it our guerrilla marketing, but we actually are physically present at the car dealerships, building relationships and maintaining relationships with the service advisors and the sales staff. And we see that as one of the conduits that bring work into us. But teaching them how to sell a certified repair, the importance of that certified repair, and assisting them if a car comes in for an oil service or something like that and it's got some visual damage, they give us the opportunity to look at that vehicle and contact that customer. Looking for those opportunities is one of the ways that we do that.
Yeah, and recently I actually started working with our paint company that we spray at the shop, Exalta, and they can provide a tremendous amount of information on your market area, break it down to how many, specific cars you have, to, how many cars are owned per household in your area, all kinds of really good information to then take to, maybe a social media marketing strategy, or to Ron's point, to your dealer. You can maybe invest more wisely in what dealer or what OEM you're going to pursue if you know which one has more cars in your market and more sales potential.
Both of them took the words right out of my mouth, but I'll double down on that. We've done both. We're a OEM certified facility, and how we found to chase which OEM we wanted to certify through was by reaching out to our paint company and getting a demographic of our market, of which vehicles are registered in our area based on the Department of Licensing registrations, so that we could start to focus our efforts on what OEMs to target, and then on top of that, go to those dealerships once we had those certifications to help sell our ability to better repair those vehicles so they could help sell that to their customers when they get in a collision.
That's great. Is there, Amber, your point about reaching out to the paint company, is there any cost associated that they pass on to you for gathering that information?
No, I'm not aware of any. I haven't had to pay for it. I do think that typically the people we deal with daily are more the technical team, right? And I think it's just getting connected with the right people. That's usually a different person, maybe a regional or someone that's specific in helping you shop layout. These people are usually not the ones that come in every day. So, you may have to ask, but look, they want us to succeed, right? They want to sell paint. So I'm not aware of any that charge.
Right. I've used a similar service in my shop, and it's amazing how detailed that data can be about the lifestyle choices of these people, the cars they drive, how many VINs are registered in a zip code. It gives you a lot of data that then you could go back to a marketer, or you can come up with a marketing plan yourself to do that. So that's great stuff. I also want to kind of shift over towards maybe utilizing more traditional methods like radio or online streaming to get your message out, or even public radio. In my market, that's we've seen. You could tell by maybe your customer base what they listen to when the cars roll into the shop. Have you guys used any of those services in your facilities?
We did a very granular test. Just to your point, we actually turned on the radios of our clients' cars and to find out what radio station was a predominant station, and then we marketed at that station. So, yeah, it's kind of old school, but it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're actually currently playing around with more social media. I mean, we've been really focused on some Instagram, and I don't know that it really drives the business in, but it definitely helps with the shop culture and identity. And we're finding, I do think long term, I don't think it's an immediate answer, but I do think long term there's something there, and maybe next year it can answer that better. But I do think, like for the dealers and the OEMs you're dealing with, and even here, right, like to build your brand with insurers, DRP, whatever your model is, right, you need to build your brand. And I do think that social media is it's an inexpensive way to do that. And so we're trying that, and it's been fun. Again, more of a team building.
I've seen your videos.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
But we'll see. We'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, so we're currently running radio ads. We do it. There's a lot of sports up where we're at, so we do a lot of the sports talk radios. It's kind of fun to go out and have someone recognize your business logo and say, "Hey, I've heard your commercial on the radio," and so it's getting out there. We also ran during COVID. We ran TV commercials, which was a pretty big investment, but I think the return on that was really good because we're able to educate on a television level where people could see people from our business. We could talk about what was important to them. So that was really fun to do. And then I think lastly, one of the things that's kind of caught me off guard, because I'm not really a social media person myself, but I have a lot of customers, especially my EV customers that are very well connected, come in constantly quoting Reddit posts that they've seen, and they see my name. They get surprised to shake my hand because I've dealt with other people's cars that they've been happy with. So that has been surprising as well. So now it's, what do we do to take the next step and kind of grow off of that?
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I was just going to say too, you have to kind of drill down the demographics too. You have, those people that are outdoors people. So if you have a Subaru certification, maybe these people, I'm from Oregon, so we have a lot of outdoor activities, whether it's, snow skiing or windsurfing or any of those things. So you start to look at those niches with that demographic. And there's also a defined age group, and so looking at that, and you want to market into those different segments. If we're marketing to a high-end luxury car, that's a lot different than marketing to an outdoor person.
Right.
In that respect. There are some overlaps, but never forget the chamber meetings, and never forget about embedding yourself within the community, whether you're sponsoring a softball team or a soccer team and buying T-shirts. You have to be present everywhere because, to Amber's point too, there's a certain group of people that live on social media, but there's also a lot that don't.
Right.
So you don't want to miss out on either one of those groups.
Right. Excellent point, Ron. I want to talk a little bit about something new that I see that is gaining traction. That's called over-the-top marketing, OTT. Are you guys familiar with that term at all? Have you heard that? Oh, good. So I'm bringing something new to the table. All right, cool. So OTT is basically referring to your Amazon Fireboxes, your Hulu, any of your streaming services, and it's a lot of those are very similar to social media marketing, and it's a way that you can take existing content that you have, and a lot of people have obviously cut the cord for cable these days and watch all their media through one of those streaming services. I've had some good luck with that in my shop, where I've had customers that I had a YouTube ad that I had made, but it got piped into an over-the-top box on somebody's TV, and I've had customers in my market come in and say, hey, I saw an advertisement for your shop, and it works really well. Pricing wise, it's fairly similar to what we've been, some of the other models we've been talking about, but that may be something for people to consider if looking for an alternative method, depending on kind of what your market is doing. It's crazy that I've had people at community events come up and say, I've seen your face somewhere. And it's like, oh, yeah, you probably saw me on YouTube or in an ad somewhere. So it's interesting. All right, we did cover Reddit a little bit. And social media. Are there any other lesser known channels of communication and marketing that you guys utilize that work well in your shops?
Well, I think it's important too, and I'm guilty of this, is neglecting our online reviews. And I think it, probably by far the easiest thing to do is to be proactive and ask your customers to leave you reviews, because this is a tough business, right? And we sometimes, people are without their cars. It's a life disruption. It's a financial disruption, right? All of the things. And I think over the last year or two, I've really focused and am trying to focus my team on, how important it is to be sympathetic, empathetic to what our clients are going through. And when you kind of change that perspective, then you can ask for good reviews. And we had a meeting recently, and I said, if you're going to go out to eat, are you going to eat at the 3-star restaurant, or are you going to eat at the 4.5-star restaurant? So the reality is that once you're in an accident, you're going to need to shop pretty quickly. You may Google them, and if they come up as a 3.5, if you as the shop come up as a 3.5-star shop, you're probably not going to be the one that's selected.
Right.
And I mean, that is, the reality of everyone having access to a phone or in their car or whatnot. So I do think that is, if you were going to start a marketing plan, probably ground zero in my opinion.
I think on that point too, because that's a great point. We definitely focus on reviews, but the sad part of it is it's significantly easier to get someone to leave a bad review if they don't have a good experience,
Right.
than it is to get someone that had a great experience to leave a good review. So making sure that you are asking, we have QR codes set up in our office, so that when someone comes to pick up, if they're a happy customer, or even if they're unhappy, we hey, whatever your experience is, let us know, because A, if you're happy, we want people to know that you were happy, but B, if there was something that we can do better, if you don't tell us, we don't know. And then on top of that, when they leave reviews, giving responses to those reviews is huge, because then it shows the thank you, or hey, we understand, we're going to work on this, thanks for pointing that out. And I think people feed a lot on that when you have an active administrative part of your business that's really focused on the customer service side of it. It goes a long ways, and when people can see the reviews and see the responses, I think that speaks a lot to what your business stands for.
Absolutely.
I was just going to key on what Amber said too about, nobody plans to get up in the morning and have a collision. Nobody plans to get up in the morning and have a toothache or slip on the sidewalk and break their arm. So, we are, in some respects, one of those negative industries that are really important. And so what we try to do is create a convenience for those people. You can go online. We have a QR code that goes on to each one of our certified dealer service desks. So they can QR right there. They go right to our website, and they can make an appointment to have a consultation for a repair plan. We used to just take walk-in customers. Well, sometimes they're trying to do it on their noon hour, and there's 5 people waiting. So now we set consultations up and give an hour and 15 minutes for each one. And it gives you a value opportunity where you can truly sell, talk about the benefits of a certified repair, and walk them through really setting the expectation of how this repair process is going, the good, bad, and the ugly.
Right.
People just want to be transparent. They want to see that truthfulness. And we have found that being able to make an appointment as opposed to just a walk-in, they appreciate that because now that appointment is for them. You know, I'm going to concentrate my time 100% with you.
And going back to the original question, or the question about what we do, so we actually recently started, a friend of mine in a shop north of us started doing through Body Shop Booster these QR codes for their service drive. And so we're actually rolling that out. And I mean, we've gotten really positive feedback from that program. So, you know, it creates less friction for the service writers at the dealerships you're working with. It gives them an opportunity, and the clients that go to them. And like if they need an estimate, they just scan. And we plan on kind of flooding our social media and whatnot with that option of being able to quickly request an estimate, making it easy. And, you know, and then also being able to acknowledge and potentially reward those that are sending business, or the dealers that, again, going back to, you have to know where your work is coming from, right, in order to like continue to promote it.
Absolutely. I think it's also interesting, you know, we talked a little bit about community involvement. There are local apps, I think that like Nextdoor and Angie's List and even Yelp to a degree, right, that are out there that I think some shops overlook. And, you know, every community is different. Have you guys used any of those smaller type things to get things going?
You know, one thing that, and again, I don't mean to not answer your question, but some of that's overlooked too is car clubs.
Yeah.
You know, and so you see that on social media. There's those groups of people that do that. You see it predominantly maybe with some of the luxury sports cars, whether it's Porsche or some of those other ones too. Do open houses for the car club. You know, people, if they're car people, they want to know what's going on with their car, how to wash it, how to clean the wheels, and things like that.
Right.
So interacting, having a barbecue or doing something like that, and speaking to that is just another avenue.
And I think, I mean, there's a couple that you named, I won't call them out, that I think used to be solid, but are now really highly sponsorship driven. And so currently we're not participating with any of those. There's also some that like you have to be a member and pay to like see what your reviews are. And like that all, you know, I find as like a business operator to be a little challenging, and I don't want to have to pay for.
It's gatekeeping to a degree,
it.
right?
Yeah. So currently we're not.
It's a really, and I'm glad you said that, because there's not all of these decisions are good ones, right? And sometimes when it comes to marketing, you're going to fail on some of these initiatives before you start to find your lane, what works. But we've covered a lot of different topics. How would someone go about like trying to strategize to do some of the things that we're talking about? Because for an average shop that's struggling right now, this might all seem very daunting. What would you guys suggest?
There's marketing teams that are available. I'm sure some of them are probably here at SEMA in this setting here. But there are easy ways to get started into it. You can hire someone young that's a Facebook savvy person that can start making posts and start drawing attention to your business. There's plenty of, if you want to look at the radio side of it, like we had no clue what we were doing and ended up getting a radio contact, and they helped us build our commercial. They helped us build the whole soundtrack and put it together. And so there are avenues that there's people that do this for a living. I mean, that
Right.
They're happy to help. And sometimes in our industry alone, one of the things I hear the most is I'm too busy or I don't have time. It might be worth paying a little bit of money to help take that off of your workload and let someone that is their profession do it.
Through your auto body association, do you give any advice to your members for resources like what you're describing?
Yeah, time to time. Our biggest push is once, and kind of to go back to what Ron had talked on earlier, is once that work is at your door, right? They haven't scheduled yet. They're just shopping essentially. Making sure you sell your value proposition.
Yeah.
Let them understand why you're maybe a better option than somebody else. If it's a certification, if it's training, if it's in a payer dealing that you work with a payer or without a payer, talking about the good, the bad, the potentially ugly of what the repair might look like, but having full transparency And the biggest part of it is just setting that foundation so you can build that trust so that they are ensured through you that what you're offering is going to be followed through.
Right.
And I mean, I think some of it can be done on a real entry level basis, right? First, you have to decide what your brand is. Are you going to, you know, look to OEMs and then dealers or insurance companies or potentially fleet, or you know, are you a pillar in your community and you can use some of those avenues, right, to and again, I mean, every community is different, you know. I mean, I happen to be in a city, like a basically a commuter hub area where a lot of our customers come from outside of our zip code. You know, they're taking a freeway to get to work, and then it happens, or they're coming up to a dealer. So I think first you need to look at those things. Once you have your brand, then I suggest, again, you know, check your reviews, get your online brand set up properly, and to Justin's point, your team isn't letting what opportunities you already have go, because over the years, and it's been a lot of years, I usually find that one reason we slow down is because we're not selling ourselves. We're not following up on the people that are calling. We're not following up, or, you know, quite honestly, you know, maybe we have deserved some bad reviews. I mean, it happens, you know, and you have to just get back up on the horse and like, and keep going. And then, you know, once you do that, get out and figure out what communities, organizations you can be part of, like your high school. I mean, parents will come to a business if you're supporting their kids' Little League team. You know, that they're going to want to use those businesses that are doing that. And find out, you know, don't assume that because someone else might be certified on a brand that the dealer is happy with them.
Right.
You know, there's always opportunities. Sometimes I think small shops take it for granted that, oh, well, this big shop in our area, they have all the OEM certifications, but are people really happy with them? And there's nothing wrong with going out and you know, asking those questions, putting yourself out there, and asking for the business. And you know what, if you deserve it and you find out that, you know, someone isn't doing a good job, good for you. And I'll tell you, I mean, that's happened a lot for us, where we've been able to get contracts because a competitor was asleep at the wheel.
Right. Right.
You know, I can certainly support that. And, you know, we're sponsored by quite a few certifications, and some of those dealers that sponsor us have their own body shops, but they don't even refer their own internal body shop. They refer us. But getting back to a point that you made, Amber, about embedding yourself in the community, you know, we have bottled water. We put our own label on it. We go to the high schools, to their sports clubs, the parent club, and we'll give them 25 cases of our bottled water, and they sell it during their sporting events. For, you know, it's a fundraiser for them. People have our bottled water, and then, you know, banner ads in the program. You know, the ads that go on the fences, things like that. We also have a loaner car fleet. So, you know, we're advertising with that loaner car. It's got our, you know, courtesy of our facility. And when you think about that, when I give a client a loaner car that they're going to have for 3 weeks, it goes to school, it goes to church, it goes to the soccer game, it goes to Costco, it goes to Home Depot. So you become bigger than life, because you need to be seen. And that's another area that we found beneficial is our loaner car fleet with our advertising on that.
Right. All excellent stuff. I want to talk a little bit about internal marketing, because I think a lot of shops overlook that they have marketers inside their shop. It's your team. How do you guys tap into the resource of the network of the employees that you have to help spread awareness of your company through the culture that you have?
Well, we do that by, if an employee has a charity that they're passionate about, we're going to endorse that charity. And so we're going to reserve a block of dollars for that, you know, and cater to that. They might have an event, and so we want to be aware of that. So, you know, really being part of what's important to them. And that also secures that employee, that my employer cares about me. you know,
Exactly.
as well. So
Yeah.
if we're supporting, to Amber's point, if we're supporting the dance team, or we're supporting the, you know, the little league or whatever it might be, that also helps the employee. And then your employees, if, you know, I trust that most people have a uniform. Well, they're wearing their uniform to the grocery store, or they're wearing their uniform out in the public, and it also perpetuates a conversation as well.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Ron, as usual, took the words right out of my mouth, but we actually moved away from traditional uniforms and got T-shirts and hoodies, and, you know, often, you know, people will show up on Saturday and them, or they'll see their, you know, their kids come in and they'll have one of our T-shirts on or whatnot. So, again, I mean, any way that you can promote. But going back to the social media thing, people love to see themselves on, you know, I mean, there's a certain amount of pride when you're featured on your company's social media, and so that's another way that we do, you know, bring everyone in. We also don't just have one person that goes out to our dealers. We rotate our entire office staff, because the other thing is, as an owner, manager, operator, right, you should never take it for granted that your people are connecting the way you need them to connect. And sometimes it's just a matter of a different personality. It can be the difference between a woman showing up and a man, or vice versa, or someone young and someone old. Like, and this isn't like it's not a discrimination thing. It's just that people are going to want to work with someone that they can connect with. And so, if you're trying to market your business, you need to make sure that you're understanding that, and you're working it to the best of the ability to provide someone that they can say, hey, Justin, you know, it took you 2 extra days and I got chewed out and I'm not happy about it, you know? And sometimes people will stop doing business with you because they just don't feel like they can talk to you
That's right.
about what they need.
100%.
And so, you know, I've found that, like, over the last year, that's really helped us too, because we'll have even like a porter that will get a call, hey, we have a car to pick up, and I'm like, okay, that's odd, but I'm not going to ask any questions, because good for him stepping up, making someone feel comfortable enough to want to make sure that he's going to come, he's going to pick up the car, he's going to follow through. I don't care who it is. Go get the work into our shop. Good for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, everything they've said is spot on. I know that what we've done is, like, when we have employees with family members, children that are in sporting events, they'll ask us to sponsor. So we've done, one of my guys, his daughter's a cheerleader. So the boxes at the cheerleading at the football game had our logo on it. So I'm not going to dive too much more into what they've talked about, but yeah, getting your brand, getting your logo out in the community is great for recognition, because you want to be the first thing people think of when the unfortunate incident of an accident happens.
Right.
You don't want them searching. You just want to say, I've seen that logo, I've heard that name, I've heard that jingle, and be in front of them instantly.
All right, as we're wrapping up here, the last question I have for everybody is about existing customers. I think a lot of times shops overlook the fact that an existing customer is one of the best referral sources that you can have, right? If they've had a great experience with you, how do you approach those customers to see if they're willing to refer you, their neighbor, or their family member, or someone else after they've already done business with you?
Well, we do that when we're reselling the job, when we're at that point of we're turning the vehicle back to them. Every one of our clients, part of our quality control process is when the QC manager does the final quality control on that vehicle, it gets one of our signature bottles of water in the cup holder. So every car gets delivered with one of our bottles of water in it. So that's that refresher reminder. But our customer service reps, we will ask for that review. I know Justin talked a little bit about that. You know, we'd rather catch that negative right up front. You know, if the customer says, well, it took 3 or 4 extra days, and we might explain that, well, it was due to parts delay outside of our control. Did we communicate well with you? You know, how can we improve, and things like that. Just that care and concern also helps a lot, you know, in that. But you need to do it right then.
Right.
I think you need to do it right then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes a lot to the reviews. We also send 6-month and 1-year follow-ups that are kind of like, hey, glad we haven't seen you, but if you need us, we're still here. just to kind of keep us fresh in their mind. But reviews, 100%, I think is the best way because, like I said, if you can dive in, respond to the reviews, they feel like they're part of your family,
Exactly.
and they're happy to refer you.
Yeah.
And we invite people back for a 30 or 90-day detail, and then that gives us an opportunity to catch anything that may have been missed or, address anything that they may have a concern. And then at that point, you do have a lot more casual conversation with the client, and you can start to continually maintain that relationship.
Yeah, those are all excellent points. We lose sight sometimes of what's in our own backyard, right? I want to thank all of my panelists today. You guys really gave some fantastic insight into how shops can really make sure that they're staying ahead of the economic slowdown and the troubles that we're seeing at the moment. So thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great doing it.